G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to round number 3 of the Active Gamers program here for 2022, presented by AFL Max and Meta High School Esports. Thanks for tuning in here on your Wednesday evening for this amazing Rocket League action here. That, a lot of these Year 7s and 8s are going to have some fun playing in an Oz Kick style format here, to get them more involved, of course, with games, with active sports, out in the real world, you want to call it that, and obviously to connect more with their fellow schoolmates and make some good friendships out of it. One quicksand here to give you all the action for our singular best of 5 here tonight. And quicksand, we're going to talk about it, right? Such an awesome program for these kids to be a part of.
That's right. I went through the PowerPoint and everyone was explaining to me how all the programs go down, what they're doing it for. And I've been saying with all the meta broadcasts, and I'm going to say it with this one as well, the fact that there's people going into schools and incursions and visiting places and all around esports is crazy to me. I wish I had it when I was in high school, and I'm so glad that these kids get it when they're in high school.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we kind of missed the boat right quick, Sam. It's very important for us. But it's such an awesome program for everyone to be a part of, and it's been such an awesome series so far where not only, of course, it's such an awesome program these kids get involved in, but we kind of get like an inside scoop, right, into maybe some of the players that we could see later on down the line be a part of Meta, be a part of the Oceanic scene, right, for Rocket League competition, and maybe some up-and-comers we might see one day in RLCS, you never know. So it's also an awesome program to get these kids started earlier here. And we're going to be seeing a returning team that we saw last round as well, put on such an amazing show for us. It is going to be the return of Team Smiley Face taking on the Cove kids here in our best of 5. It will be a 2v2 to kick things off. And if the last few meta weeks of the regular season and even, the Active Gamers program here, quicksand of anything to go by, these 2v2s are going to be amazing. Already that first goal 10 seconds in.
The Aspect just going to smash it in. And again, at 2v2, the games play are way different. You don't see too many high-level competitive tournament play. Even in tournament play like this, where the players are experiencing and learning what it's like, 2v2s are so different from how 3v3s run.
Not having that third player, right? It's always going to be so important. And problem,
wow,
is maybe things like this is just you can kind of just get these free open goals if the enemy team isn't exactly set up for it, especially unfortunately if they are just sitting in the goals like that.
Yeah, again, looking to save the ball and just a badly timed flip is going to mean that we won't see a save. That happens. There's a lot of things that happen, especially when you're a developing player, to figure out timing, to figure out mechanics and moves, and we're going to see another one of kickoff here from Aspect.
Hold on, just give this one a second to just settle in. It hit the ceiling, and this is what I mean quick. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. Some 2v2 is always different, and sometimes the skill level isn't what we might usually see in like pro play, but that also means we get the fun antics like off the ceiling goal.
I mean, just the other day I was casting another tournament and they were getting so many kickoff goals despite how high the level of play was as well. There was some fantastic level of players, some Supersonic legends, some Grand Champs hitting up, and look, it happens to everybody. So it's so interesting to see how such a goal can transfer between so many different ranks and skill levels.
Even ones like that, the slow goals, you can kind of sneak in. Zephyr going to be the one to technically secure that one. In those ones, I think they hurt the most. There's one thing getting it across the field, there's one thing getting a sick aerial play, but it's another thing just the ball just slowly bouncing or dribbling in. It's a moment of pain. And a reminder, we're a minute in. We've already had 4 goals.
Yeah, it's going to be a high-scoring one these next couple of games, and it's going to be a best of 5, meaning 3 wins means they take the series. But something I'm interested about, Baz, is while we see a couple of these goals down, I'm surprised if we don't see 4 more in this space of time. What kind of esports access did you have when you were in high school?
Well, I'm an old man, by comparison, which is kind of weird because, there's a lot of the people I work with are a lot older. I didn't have that. That was well past my time. Luckily, I was able to, I would say, do a re-entry and had an amazing program involved in this where I guess it was kind of the right timing and helping out some of the younger guys get in. Another goal is going to come nice and safe and secured in there for Team Smiley Face there by SMW, just getting the follow-up to make sure it's secured in there. But yeah, obviously these programs like this, right, it's such an awesome thing that obviously schools are getting involved in now and giving players the opportunity, because it's exactly the same as normal sports, right? It's absolutely no different. The competition is exactly the same. The time and effort you have to put in, the friendships you can make along the way, and the things you can learn and take outside of the sports that you can learn and use in the real world, right? All exactly the same. So it's cool to see you getting also a program like this, but 3 minutes, 3 seconds still left on the clock. That's 6 goals now. And Aspect just quite happily tickles that one straight in.
I think I'm on the same page as you, Baz. Look, I'm probably a little bit younger than you, and I've just come out of high school, but even though I've barely come out, there's still so many more opportunities that are coming up that I've never had, and so many more that I guess are clearer and more available. Maybe it's because I'm more of a part of the esports scene, but I'm seeing even people who are my younger siblings' ages getting more opportunity in esports. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, and then there's interesting downsides to esports being popular. I mean, the other day when I was at a LAN, this mother came up to me and with her very young children, and she asked me what sport would make them the most money if they played it.
Well, it's good to see that you know, they're taking it seriously. You know, they're trying to set up their child to get maximum money. You know, it's think of it that way. It's yeah. I mean, that kind of happens with normal sports as well. There are, I can understand it. You know, it's just like normal sports. It's sometimes getting to those pro leagues, it can be a bit of a dream, right? It can be a bit volatile, but you got to put your all in. And there's so much you can learn if you play it casually. You don't have to play for money, obviously. There's so many awesome community events and amateur events out there, both in person and online, that you can be a part of. And obviously Rocket League just tends to be one of the best, one of the easiest to get into, not only as a player, but as a spectator as well, especially for young families, right?
As well as I think Rocket League is probably, I mean, please remind me if there's anything else, but it is one of the only, if not the only, competitive game that doesn't have, let's remove demolitions as violence. Besides that, there's literally no violence in the game. It's soccer.
Do you count FIFA slide tackles as well?
Yeah, maybe.
Do we count you know, shoulder tackles in NBA? I mean, I guess technically there's a violent, right? But yeah, outside of you just all say sports that have been made into games. Right? I know what you mean. Yeah, it's definitely one of the most family friendly, and that's why it's always been so popular, because it's so easy to get into, but of course there's that depth to master, right? And with less than a minute left here on the clock, Aspect gonna sneak that one in there off the side through midfield even, and not only bounces it off the corner, gets the official OCE self-goal tick of the day. I know Gex is gonna be happy about that one. He's gonna be laughing at home through his coffee at the moment to get better soon, my man. And again, we're in round 1 in a best of 5 series. Yeah, you better settle in, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to be seeing goals, I think, left, right, and center all night.
Yeah, there is going to be a huge number of goals, because that's what happens. It's not just that these players are still developing and learning, but it's also a 2v2, meaning there's one less person back to defend, one less person to attack, and it just makes it that much harder. But seeing stuff like this as well is so cool to me, because now, as someone who's still getting into the world of esports, watching more games, learning how to cast and see how the tournaments develop, it's so good to see. I think this feels like the most ground level kind of tournament that you started. It's the first thing you do, it's something you give a shot, and then once you did this, you can move on to our current meta tournaments for those high school students and some of these university students. As we're going to see the Cove kids take the first game of the day. It's been a very high scoring match with goals flying all over the place. It's going to be 4-3. Team Smiley Face and Cove kids both had a very close game. Some interesting goals right off kickoff. And as Aspect, notably, has scored 4 goals for his team, and his teammate hasn't scored any. Aspect looking like a bit of a danger man tonight.
Sometimes you can see, right, some teams maybe rely on certain strikers at this level, and I guess it's kind of the same side on Team Smiley Face of Zephyr at the moment, right? I mean, 4 shots on goal, did get 2 big ones in, so hoping to see, SMW and Axo do maybe step up a little bit more. SMW was able to get one sneak in at the end, towards the end of the game, but haven't really seen much of Cove Kids throughout this competition here so far. As we mentioned, at the top of the show, we had seen Team Smiley face in round 2 and I want to say same school versus school matchup that they had there in round 2, and then he just got out of it with a 3-2. But of course, we also know they went 3-0 in their first round as well. So kind of want to say maybe the favorites coming into this one. So Cove Kids definitely getting that series startup to kick off this best of 5. That momentum, that morale. They're going to be love life, I think, for the moment.
Yeah, and it's really nice to consider and witness how much tempo and momentum, like you mentioned before, is going to have an impact on players who maybe aren't as skilled as the top level players. And it shows that it's so varied how much tempo and momentum impacts players, which we can kind of discover and research from here. As Zafinda doesn't get onto the ball right off kickoff, unfortunately. I'm going to see, again, I'm curious how many goals we're going to see right off the bat this game as well.
Yeah, well, we're already at 7 in total so far. So keep that whiteboard marker up, ladies and gentlemen, and start marking it, because we've already started it again. 16 seconds in. SMW, I said, we might want to start seeing the second half of these teams start showing up, and SMW is going to start that straight away. First goal again.
As I was saying earlier, just before the first game finished, it's so cool to see now how clear some of the progression paths are for players who practice.
Wait. 3-second kickoff. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. A demo as
we just let them go, right? We just we see it, we let it go. There's not really much to say. We move on.
Yeah, those kickoff goals can be a little bit notorious, and the more you see them, the more frustrating they get. It happens at every single level of play. It's crazy. And it looks like we're seeing a lot more confidence coming from Team Smile. Maybe they realize they got to put their head in the game since they lost the first one, and it looks like they are going to concede a goal, though, to Aspect, bringing us to 2-1. Again, scores staying high, scores staying close.
Yeah, obviously the confidence is good, but at the same time, this is where that 2v2 problem kind of starts showing its head, right? Where you got to be careful. You don't have that third man back there in the goals to make sure, or in defense, or something to rely on there. If you're going all in, you got to make sure you kick those shots. And it's unfortunate this effort kind of missed out, being able to knock the ball away, and of course giving Aspect that goal opportunity for the likes of the Cove Kids here. But they still have that one goal, separation here, that +1 at the moment. They can kind of lean on for a little bit. But I'll say that was too close.
That is unfortunate for Aspect. That has got to hurt right in front of the goal and just hits it a little bit too hard. There's so many different parts of a car and so many different speeds and jumps you can do to manipulate the ball to how you want. You can get it up in the air, you can get it tight on the ground, you can get it curving all over the place. And unfortunately, that wasn't the hit Aspect was looking for, but that's something you learn just from playing the game a lot.
Exactly. It all comes down to that experience. Speaking of, how about the boost as well? We were seeing a problem there. Team Smiley Face, both players were out of it entirely. They needed to try and regroup here and kind of give Cove Kids a bit of an opening. As you can see here now, sending it through to Smiley Face's side of the pitch here, potentially looking for a set-up goal. I don't think it gets much cleaner than that from Axo, dude. Gonna even up this game to now. Nice little style. Just little, I would say, diagonal push coming through there, off the ground. And 2-2 with 3:10 left on the clock.
It shows, again, there's aspects that take practice, that take learning, and how important boost is as well. Team Smile, as you said, we're lacking a little bit on boost. And that's something that players have to practice over and over again. Aspect, once again, hitting the crossbar. Very unfortunate, it's gotta hurt. Boost is such a big aspect of the game and something you have to learn about how to path to it, how to manage it, how to use it. That's something that these guys are probably picking up right now, and hopefully Team Smile can figure out that some of their problems is because they're lacking on boost, and that they can reflect on that and develop on that during the games.
Yeah, we're definitely at least going to get the pressure back to the side of the Cove Kids here, and from what I said about checking the OC self-goal checklist, quick, looks like we're now got on both sides. And you love to see it. It's good to see that our young players are already embodying that Oceanic spirit. Love to see it.
Oceania, such a trademark region in esports. I feel like we need to have more of these trademarks, more of these iconic moments, because sadly, we're not showing up too much in esports, are we, Baz?
Well, when, it's self goals in Rocket League, it's Baron throws in League of Legends, exactly just past the 20-minute mark. Yeah, it's not looking too good. It's running a bunch of members down a particular lane in CS or in Siege. Yeah, it's not good for us, but it's okay. It's the entertainment factor, like that, coming through with the smiley face. That is gonna hurt, I think, for the side of the Cove kids, then unable to get it out, and then using yourself as a prop up to get the ball over.
Yeah, I don't think Aspect's feeling too good about that one. Poor dude. They really got in the way. Tried their best, but they just couldn't stop it. And I mean, Baz, in high-level esports, well, look, we're not good at League. We're okay at Rocket League. We're not very good at. Are we good at Dota? I'm not too into these scenes, Baz.
I don't play Dota. So.
What do you keep up with CS? Do you keep up with R6?
Shadowverse.
Are we good at Shadowverse?
I mean, I am mastering, so I like to think that I am. But that's not that hard to get to. So maybe. I mean, I'm better than a majority of my fellow casters in that game that I do work with. And we had a tournament to prove it. So I guess, but is there a point we're getting to quick? It's
I was just curious how good OC is at esports as a whole, because we're not 100%
with the best. No, with the best region, untapped. That's why we're isolated on an island on the other side of the world, because we're too powerful. That's why NA keeps stealing all our talent, because we're too good. Zephyr gonna get that one in now. +4 gonna make that 6-2 against the Cove kids, and unfortunately Aspect was trying to get it out. And it's going to come through. I mean, SMW technically, is that a tag team? Do we count that as a tag shot?
Yeah. Why not? We'll give them it. We'll give them it. Look, we have DreamHack coming up soon, Baz.
Sure.
And that's going to be down in Melbourne. We have PAX. We have all these events, and like I said, I was going on a bit of a spiel before I'd been too many goals and too many game ends incoming. I've been trying to pick up a comeback in the game. Oh yeah. I wonder how many new young players we're going to inspire, because the biggest problem with OCE is we're such a big country and we're another region with like no people in it. we have like what, 30 million people total in OCE?
What do you mean? We steal people from New Zealand as well. Anyone that gets popular in New Zealand, they become Australian. That's how that works. You're an actor, you're a singer, you're a sportsman. It doesn't really matter. You're technically Australian. That's how that's always worked. Right? Aspect getting that one in. Gonna try and even it up. It's good to see the Cove kids now, even with less than a minute here on the clock. We're gonna try their best to try and even it up. Remember, they do have that current series lead. Yeah, it's only by one, but it's that one that matters at the end of the day. 49 left here to try and maybe settle things up here and take an overtime.
It would be fun to see a comeback here from the Cove kids if they can find it. It is 2 more goals in 40 seconds, which is tight. But again, in a 2v2, there's so much open space. A lot of people too far up to be able to defend the goal. Aspect looking to bring down the right side. If he can nail this one, that is 6-5 with 30 seconds left on the clock. And Aspect has been scoring again and again and again.
I mean, you're saying they're going to try and find it, right? That's what, 3 goals in what, 25 or so, I think. Yeah, smiley face. Lads, you might need to get your head back into this one here, because it's not over. And amongst the things, Cove kids are going to quite easily bring this one back in.
Aspect's been playing it really slow, just sitting in the back of the net, waiting for up to hit the ball and play on that counter attack. And it's working. Look at that. Both of the members of Team Smiley just not on the goals. With Zafinda trying to catch up, and Aspect and Axo both just backing off despite only having 14 seconds left on the clock. They need to put everything they can into this attack to be able to mount something back as Zafinda looks towards the opposing goal, bring it to 7-5, and it looks like this game might just be sealed shut.
Are gonna secure that second series off that one there. And do you want to say the actual movement, the rotation coming out from Cove kids was actually quite good. I mean, the way Aspect was able to throw it out, got that 100 boost, straight away, but unfortunately they just weren't able to get that follow-up, like get that setup to look towards evening up the score, and Smiley Face were able to sneak that one away. So series tied up here once again, 1-1 going into the third match now of the night. Remember, it is a best of 5 set here. And good to see SMW was saying, right? Was saying Team Smiley facing the shot with both members here, not just on Zeph, both getting in here, both getting huge goals coming out. And I wonder how that might affect the rest of the series now, because we've seen a lot of the work, right, from Cove kids, quick, leaning on Aspect a little bit here.
Yeah, and Aspect has been scoring all the goals for the Cove kids, as you said. And a lot of it keeps coming off counterattack. If you're watching how they play and doing very slow, in this kind of 2v2 style, something that happens a lot is teams will try to overcommit on the attack, because you don't want to have one person in defense and one person on attack. And then it's kind of hard to break through, especially when you're not able to air dribble and do crazy tricks to try and break through. So what Aspect and Axo are both doing is just sitting in their net, waiting for the ball to come to them, and they're taking the risk of being shot on. But if they can block that shot, then they have an open net in front of them. They just have to work towards to try and score it.
Yeah, and it's always interesting about when we have these series where how the teams react going into each round, right? And then seeing how the strategies change here so far. We're getting ready to jump onto the pitch for kickoff now for the third game here of the night between Team Smiley Face and the Cove kids here for active gamers, round number 3. And here we go with that kickoff. We've seen some insane goals of kickoff already in the first 2 rounds. Kind of half expecting it here again, but looks like I'm getting a bit of a slower start to kick off game 3.
Which I'm glad to see for once. Maybe these teams are trying to find their bearings. Maybe these lack of goals that we're seeing right off the bat might be a good thing. They're trying to get more comfortable with the ball. They're getting better at defending. They're getting better at taking their time, because something that I discussed, I was casting with Formal earlier, and something you see in some of these university and very good high school level players, those Grand Champ ones, is they get quite nervous and the pressure can get to them. Even just regardless of being on stream, it could be the pressure of being in the finals, is they try to turn up their tempo higher than they're used to. And that means that they play faster. They're not used to that high octane speed that they're running at, meaning they can't keep up, they can't score goals, they can't control the ball, and inevitably they lose the ball and the other team is going to score on them. And maybe if these guys slow, which they are, trying to slow down, get more comfortable, get around the ball, they might have an opportunity to improve.
And going to see that kind of come into play here already. It took a minute 4 this time, longest we've seen here so far. But look at the angle that Zeph's able to hit the ball off the ground. That was nuts. The ball literally just Beybladed spun into the goals. Like, I don't think it gets any cooler than that here.
Zeph must be really happy with that one. And Team Smiley Face looking like the stronger team off the bat. There's still so much time left in this game. And as we mentioned with tempo and momentum, we're going to see a change based on the winners of this game. That motivation, I mean, there's still so much time left, but so little goals scored compared to the last 2 that I'm really curious to see where this one goes.
How about that one? Aspect gets it in. Open goals, nice and easy. We expect the man to come out and get these big goals. Everyone tried. Definitely tried to run into him there and push him out of the way, but just got enough momentum, unfortunately. Not even just for a demo, but even just for a harder hit to get him out of the way. And then he's going to even up the goal score here for game 3. That was a kickoff. I didn't want to play tennis between the 2 different sidewalls at the moment, but it looks like it might be. I mean, Wimbledon is currently on, so not really too surprised there. And now the Cove kids kind of having to deal with some of this pressure once more from Team Smiley Face. Remember, one of the top teams here in active gaming at the moment, currently both in here 2-0 in series competition.
And again, these high scores mean whoever wins and whoever loses is going to have to take that mark on their record. Once you've had so many wins so far in this season, we've seen it in so many tournaments, especially those that follow a Swiss bracket. Those teams that win a lot get to play against each other, and it makes for a really exciting competition, doesn't it, Baz? Those people who are already succeeding get to play against people who are also succeeding, and the competition gets so fierce.
You always get those top quality matches, no matter really what league you're in, and you know, sometimes people might say, oh, but the ranks, they're not doing this thing, they're not doing that thing. But sometimes the lowering matches can be the most fun, because that's when you start to get things you don't expect, right? Maybe certain, I'll say, characters being picked in a particular game, certain strategies being used, or strategies in quotations, right, that you don't really expect, or rotations that can really make things fun. And that teamwork coming out from Team Smiley Face here, you love to see it from the midfield. Zephyr setting up SMW with the follow-up to get that one in, making it 2 goals now here in round 3. And unfortunately, Cove Kids just nowhere to be found.
Yeah, Cove Kids looking, waiting, not finding. They need to spread out and they need to work out on their rotations. I mean, you mentioned earlier that they've had some good rotations, which means they have it inside them, their ability to understand who needs to defend and who needs to attack. But again, in a 2v2, you want to have offensive power. You also want to have decent defensive power. Don't have enough people to do that. Coming off the backboard, can Axo do try to pick it up? Defender's going to get the deflection, and SMW looking to get that turnaround.
Yeah, unfortunately, Axo Dude not going to be there. Going to have that momentum to get that goal set in, and that's going to give it back to the... I was going to say give it back to the side of Team Smiley Face, but I'm apparently eating my own words, because it's back to Cove Kids now in control once more. And this is where we're going to have that little dance, the back and forth here, to try and regain control, keep that possession for as long as possible. Even get a setup going for a sidewall. SMW is maybe going to look for it, but Aspect will get a nice defensive hit there. Even going to get an open goal shot to once again even up the goals here in game 3.
That is unfortunate for Zafita. Really tried their best, but they did drift just a little bit too far out of the way of the ball, and that means that now we're going to see an equalization. This is really tight. They're both tied in the series, tied in the game right now to try and get that lead and get just one step closer to match point. Both these teams are looking for more as Aspect brings the ball up the field. It is going to be a setup in front of goal, but Aspect isn't facing the right direction. Does get the turnaround, but Zafita's not going to get on top of the ball in time, and that's the one who's just going to roll in. Finally giving Cove Kids their lead that they've been waiting for behind the entire game, and finally found their step up.
Talking about painful goals, that's one of them, I think. That's a nice self-setup that, unfortunately, you just don't expect to kind of be that slow and kind of just get snuck in to get that 3 there. And Cove Kids looking to try and get that round up and be on serious point here by the end of round number 3. Going to be into that midfield stage here once again. Zeph going to get that 100 boost and look towards a potential follow-up now. Maybe give a chance for SMW to catch up in boost, but be real careful here because Aspect is unable to get in these open goals time and time again, round and round again here so far. Nice demo coming out from Zephyr. Axo Dude staying the ball a little bit too far, but it has been set up for Aspect to get that one.
Not again!
Not going to be able to get it in with 10 seconds left here on the clock. Team Smiley Face have to do everything and the kitchen sink here to try and even it up and send it to overtime, but no boost, no momentum. It's going to give Cove Kids that second round win, now sitting on series point here for Active Gamers round 3.
That's right. That means if these guys win the next game, they are going to take the series with their heads up, and they're not going to have any blemishes on their record. Keep their clean sheet, 3-0 wins overall, and that's going to be a proud thing to walk away with, because next week we do have our finals. These teams will be playing each other again in that big tournament with their overall rankings already used. So we're going to see who the best team in the entire tournament is so far after all these weeks of practicing they've been doing.
I'm just loving to see some South Australian Rocket League representation here. I mean, we already know. I mean, I'm not sure if you're around because it's the beginning of the meta days, but when we had Only High's team coming through the beginning of meta, absolute dominant team throughout 2018 and 2019, absolutely insane. And it's cool to see some of those guys end up going ahead and making it to some of the Pro League teams in RLCS. And it's cool to see we still got some shining stars showing up here that hopefully we get to see, of course, in proper meta competition in just a couple of years' time. But again, serious pointers mentioned right here for Cove Kids, looking to wrap this one up going into the final week of play here. We've seen goals straight off a kickoff. We've seen a bunch of just slow goals coming in that have really caught out some of the players, and kind of the fun of these 2v2s and waiting to see what could happen, the surprises that we kind of get out of these 2v2 situations. And I might have a slight feeling here, Quick, that this could be going to round 5. I've just got that feeling coming out here, especially with Team Smiley Face playing.
I can agree with you, Baz. These games have been so even. Both these teams are definitely a good match for each other. They're getting into that kind of level where you're not... Yeah, it's called the flow state, Baz. You know, when you get a certain amount of stress, if it's too much, you get anxious, you get worried. If it's too little, you get bored and there's nothing to do. But if it's just in the middle, that Goldilocks zone where planet Earth is, where Goldilocks found her porridge and it's just right, that's the kind of stuff that you learn, improve, and get better at. And I think these two teams match up perfectly against each other, where they're so evenly matched that they have to figure out something to do against the other team, learn new skills. In fact, it's kind of like anime, Baz. They find something new, they unlock their new powers, and they get to beat the other team.
If I start seeing an anime battle happening in Rocket League, it'd be nice. It'd be quite entertaining. But we are maybe seeing some of that pressure we were talking about in the previous round starting to show, because there's been a fair few missed shots, not just on goals, but just in general to get ball control here at the moment. And it seems both teams are throwing everything at it. Of course, Cove Kids to try and win the whole series, Team Smiley Face to keep the series going and take it here to round 5. And this is where we're kind of getting maybe a bit of a slug match back and forth between these two teams, where they're kind of just throwing everything at the ball this early on. Aspect going to take it to the midfield, maybe going to try and sneak in the first goal of the series here for round number 4. Zeph going to set up the thing, almost gets a self-goal, luckily able to shoot it off the corner, but already almost halfway through this game here, and no goals currently.
Going a lot slower. The defense is looking much better. We've seen a lot more saves, a lot less, I would say, wide open goals. There's not too many people sitting in these nets playing defensively, but they are preparing the rotations to try and get on top of these balls, and it's looking a lot better. Aspect has been sitting very far back in their net, which isn't necessarily the prime thing to do. It does mean you'll be able to hop on your ball if it's coming too high, if it's coming at a wrong angle, but a lot of the time the players want to be sitting on the back post of the ball that's heading towards them. It could be any post, but I mean, Baz, do you play too much Rocket League?
I play it casually every once in a while. I'm definitely more of a watcher and a cast, I should say, of it. But I do want to point out, that was an open goal there that Cove Kids could have got. Aspect was definitely trying to set up here. He is going to get this one here. Bouncing it off the corner. Are able to skew it. You do love to see it. And, we'll say that goal is so very important here as they are on that series point. But it's been miscommunication between Aspect and Axo-Dude. Axo-Dude actually sending it away from the goal just a couple seconds before that. So hopefully that won't affect them too much here as they look towards wrapping this one up with 2:23 left on the clock. And it's going to have Team Smiley Face to really dig deep here to bring this one back.
And they're really going to have to. There's only 2 minutes left on the clock, and with the pace the game's been going at, things are so slow. Axo looking to get that follow-up, and the pressure really has been on top of Team Smiley Face this whole time. It looks like Aspect has unfortunately left his own goal open with a rotation that wasn't exactly top class, and that's going to hurt. The score is equalized, and just as we've been waiting this long to see one goal, as soon as the second is scored.
Nice angle from the corner there, right? From his side to bring that one in, get that goal secured. You want to point out an amazing defense as well from SMW when Axo tried to send it through and secure that second goal. Was there just the right moment, just the right speed to save that one out here. Now, once again, 1-1. I don't know how many times we've talked about how these rounds have been evened up right here, Quick, or every single round here tonight so far. Aspect once again looking for it, but unfortunately out of boost, and it's kind of him against the world here at the moment.
Yeah, there's been so many opportunities where the ball has felt like it's in free zone, free area, like you have all the time in the world. And I feel like it's scarier than having a player on you or being around other players. Because once you're all on your own, it's kind of like, oh, if I miss this, it's not going to look very good, is it? And it's happened to me far too many times where I have an open goal and I've given a big shot and it just hasn't gone in. And I'm like, that's a shame. It's Aspect, and it's going to come off Zafinda trying to defend Aspect here, who's ready to hit it in, but Zafinda too desperate to try and defend, and that has got to hurt.
It's unfortunately, the angle he was on was perfectly set up by Aspect that Zafinda couldn't respond to it. There was no way he was going to be able to block that one out, unfortunately. Speaking of, luckily, Liverpool had a bit of kick, bit of bounce into that one there. Otherwise, it might have been 3 goals here at the moment. But we're going to be careful. Some members of Team Smiley Face maybe getting a little bit tangled up in themselves as they try and get that control on the side of Cove Kids. Try and look to even things up with just less than a minute left here on the clock. Unfortunately, rolling up the corner. +2 now for Cove Kids. This keeps up. It's going to be series over.
Devastating for Team Smiley Face. That goal was so slow, so far away, and so unsure. If it was 2 meters to the left, it could have gone rolling completely in the opposite direction. 2 meters to the right would have been a short shot, and you had to make it. And it was just again in that sweet spot that you can't really tell. And unfortunately for these guys, it was a bit of a coin flip, and they didn't get the side they were looking for. With 30 seconds left on the clock, they are going to struggle to find 2 goals here, especially with how defensively Aspect has been playing. Not looking to play it anymore, getting greedy to try and pick up this next goal. But 20 seconds isn't going to be enough time to pick up another one.
Looks like it is going to be over. I was going to say there might have been enough time to sneak those couple goals like we saw from the Cove Kids out of Aspect, but that will be the series end here, coming out with the Cove Kids. Almost the fourth goal, coming out there for the Cove Kids as well, but they will run away with it, getting the big W there against Team Smiley Face. Very surprising when coming out there. Like we said, Team Smiley Face being more of that favored team coming into this one here, but big congrats to the Cove Kids for taking out that round 3 match.
And that was a great series. Like I said, these teams felt like they were so well matched up against each other, and they probably learnt so much from playing these games. This last game that we just watched was the one with the biggest disparity between them all. It looks like Cove Kids finally found their mojo. They found how they wanted to play, and it was working well for them, seeing as they've scored 3 goals compared to Team Smiley Face's 1. But both teams gave it their all. They tried their best, despite it being a 2v2, switching up some of the mechanics they might not be used to. They both put on a good show.
Exactly right. You can kind of saw maybe a little bit towards the end, right? It's unfortunate that Team Smiley Face were kind of unable to get, I want to say, back into the groove right towards the end. You saw there was a couple good attempts towards the end, but it's just a little bit unfortunate, right? We had a couple moments where they were tangled up with each other. That boost, again, not being there from it was unfortunate they weren't able to really properly rotate in and out, getting that boost collection. And I mean, maybe just Cove Kids being a little bit too strong for him in that 2v2 state, of course. We might be able to see him again one final time here for Active Gamers in the final round, where hopefully we'll get that 3v3 right quick and we get to see the 2 strength of both teams. But how do you think we're feeling? Look, going off, I guess, that one round, at least going into that final round here for these teams, do you think Team Smiley Face might be able to bring it back here? Or do you think it might be Cove Kids' game to or event to take out here now?
Look, that's the hard question, Baz, because we have seen a lot of stand-up players from both teams who have been doing their best. They've been showing off. They've been scoring a lot of goals. And I don't know, because we might be missing some of the other star players. That players might be able to bind their team together. I mean, when you play traditional soccer, you have the strikers, you have the midfielders and the defenders. And in this one, we don't even have 3 people to split up amongst those roles. So I think a third man could change everything. It's too early to say, Baz.
Every little bit of experience counts, right? Especially playing on stream and in these awesome events, and we love to see it. And hopefully, of course, we'll be able to see these guys wrap it up in the final round, and of course, maybe a little bit later on, if they're able to join Meta in the near future. But that's going to be it here, guys, for this round of Active Gamers presented by AFL Max and Meta High School Esports. Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed that little best of 5 action, that little slice of best of 5 action here from one Baz, one Quicksand, because everyone involved here. We'll see you next time for the final round of the Active Gamers 22 competition. Till then, guys.